to The Critical Breakdown, the podcast where we start at the bottom of Rotten Tomatoes and work our way to 100% fresh. I'm Scott.
And I'm Max, and today we're having our summer movie preview, second annual, featuring special guest Kara Leonard.
Hello, thanks for having me back.
Yeah,
a familiar voice on the
back
pod
my
now.
fourth time here.
Yeah, second in a row too.
I know. If I come again, do I get to be in a 5-timers club?
Yeah,
I
you
think
do.
so.
I think you're the first member of the 4-timers.
Oh, do I get a jacket like
Well-
like on SNL?
Here you
Will
go.
Steve Martin come?
We're
Martin
presenting-
Short? I'll take Martin Short.
Martin Short. Dang.
Well, you should get a champion's jacket for winning last year's summer movie
Aw,
preview. We
barely.
We did our tomato meter predictions. Kara came out the closest to actual tomato meter results. She beat me by like 2 percentage points. Max was right there behind us too.
Tarzan was robbed.
Tarzan. We did have one bell ringer last year. Kara got Star Trek Beyond exactly correct.
Woo!
So we'll see. I think we got 2 bell ringers in the store this year for some reason. But we'll get into that in a minute. What have you guys been watching? Kara, what have you been watching?
I watched The Founder the other night.
Oh, yeah. How was that?
That was pretty good. I love Michael Keaton. So.
There's a lot of
Good.
good actors in it, right? 'Cause
Keaton's
isn't
back.
Nick Offerman in it? And-
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you hate capitalism, you'll love this movie.
This was a Weinstein property, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know there was a lot of controversy around the release because it was supposed to release at one time, but then when it wasn't getting the buzz, they just like threw it into hell pretty
Yeah.
much and never had a full release. So, which is tough, I guess, when your studio is only going after awards.
Yeah.
You're not going to treat the non-award ones as well because Lion got a lot of buzz for them, so they went all in on Lion.
Yeah. And it's weird because a lot of that's like, you know, how they promote it and stuff
Yeah.
like that. I know Keaton said in interviews that he was more proud of that performance than a lot of others
Yeah.
that did garner awards. So you never know.
Yeah. It seems good. I do hope to check it out. So I'll let
What
you guys
about
know
you
my
guys?
thoughts. Max, what have you been watching?
I've been watching a lot of stuff, but the most recent thing I watched was Speed Racer, written and directed by the Wachowski siblings.
Yeah. I watched the first like 15 minutes of it with you, and it's nuts.
Dude, the whole movie's nuts. And you know what? I actually really liked it.
Yeah.
I thought it was really ridiculous, but it knew it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And when a film acknowledges that it's just batshit crazy and embraces it, that's the kind of stuff I like.
Yeah.
So it's goofy. It's weird. It has a lot of good talent in it. Like Emil Hirsch plays the titular character, Speed Racer. But then you also have Christina Ricci, John Goodman, Susan Sarandon, Matthew Fox, and
Your
one or
boy.
two like other people that you recognize that are
Yeah.
kind of like more character actors. So, but it was super fun. It's visually insane,
Yeah.
and it tries to be a cartoon. I do feel this would have been better as, like we said it last night, Edgar Wright
Yeah.
could have maybe like pushed it into being a classic, but it definitely falls more to like cult classic. So
Yeah, because this is the Wachowskis.
Yeah.
And it's definitely different than their normal stuff.
well, and one thing we talked about with Jupiter Ascending was that there was a lot of schlock in that, but they didn't embrace it enough.
Yeah.
Like we said in that Sean Bean's character was part B, but he should have like been dressed or looked like a bee.
should
That
have
was
had
like a
wings
comment
at
we
least.
made. Yeah. And in this, there was a guy named Snake Oiler who was literally dressed in a snake costume, and he's driving a race car.
Snake Oiler?
Yeah. And there's like
respect that.
Vikings that are driving race. It's ludicrous,
Yeah.
but it embraced the fact that it's ludicrous. So I
It's
enjoyed
always
that.
nice. You lean into it.
Yeah. Lean in like you're speeding down a racetrack.
Just like that.
What about you, Scott? What have you been watching?
I watched The Hateful Eight the other day.
You had like 4 hours to kill.
Yeah. It was actually really good. I don't like Tarantino that much. The only Tarantino movie I've really liked is Inglourious Bastards, but I really did like The Hateful Eight. Because it's like a mystery the whole time, and it keeps you thinking, and it's not the same over-the-topness that a lot of Tarantino's stuff is the whole time. It gets there, but no, it's just really good. Have you guys, either of you seen it?
Yeah. It has one of my favorite Tarantino scenes, which was when he smashes that guitar that she's playing.
Oh, yeah.
Gibson had loaned them like this priceless guitar to use in the scene, and they were supposed to trade it out with a prop one that he would
For the
break.
smash.
And they didn't switch it out, and he smashed the real thing. So her reaction is like real, and if you watch it, she's like starts looking off camera because she's panicking.
That's amazing. I didn't realize.
And now whatever, I think it's Gibson, whatever company it is, will not loan out any guitars to movies
Wow.
anymore because of that.
Yeah, I guess he learned
Which I feel
once.
kind of like he probably did on purpose.
He would. It seems like
Yeah.
he would do it on purpose. The thing I liked is every time Tarantino makes a cameo in a movie, it just totally takes me out of it. And this, he was just the narrator. And it didn't even sound like him, which was crazy. I didn't realize till the end that he was the narrator. But so I never had that moment where I was like, ugh, Tarantino indulging himself. So it was just a really good little mystery.
I actually haven't seen this one yet, but I have read that his idea was to make Tarantino's version of a Bonanza episode. And I really enjoy that concept.
Yeah.
Because my dad always made us watch Bonanza with him.
I know that this was originally... the script was leaked online and he wasn't going to make it. He was just going to make it like a novel. But then people liked it so much, I guess he decided to go for it. And then I remember there was all the controversy around when it was released, how like Star Wars was taking up some of the screens it was supposed to be on, and he was like really mad. It's like, dude, it's Star Wars. Like, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Like, what's the movie theater
supposed
supposed to do?
on 70 millimeter, and they sent out set up projectors at different theaters.
Yeah, which is cool. I mean, it's respecting that old tradition, I guess, but at some point you gotta, I don't know, catch up. Then I finished 13 Reasons Why. I don't want to talk about it too much, but it's a very good show. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
The middle's really good. It's like really juicy. And the last episode I hated because they set up a sequel, even though the book has no sequel. I didn't like that. But the show overall.
Will that be 14 Reasons Why or 26?
I think it's called The 14th Reason. No, I don't know. But it's going to touch on more like what I thought based on the sequel or based on what they were setting up. And this shouldn't be a spoiler, or anything, but maybe they're going to do like a school shooting or something. I don't know. It got weird, but the show itself is good. I really like the music in it too.
It's cool.
And in a show about like,
I was surprised that it took 4 episodes to get to a Cure song. I was like, they've got to play a Cure song in this, and then the 4th episode opens with Fascination Street, and I was like, yes, finally.
So how far are you? Only like halfway through?
Yeah, like 5 episodes in.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I get why it's a thing, but I won't spend too long on it because we got the summer movie preview 2.
2.
Electric Boogaloo.
It's summer, so it's time for a sequel.
That's right. Well, so we're going to do the same thing we did last year. We're going to go down a list of big releases and make tomato meter predictions and rather uneducated box office predictions. Hopefully we learned from our mistakes last year. And
what was each of ours like worst prediction from last year? Obviously mine was Tarzan.
Yours was Tarzan.
Listen, it found its audience on HBO.
I think so. I want to see those HBO numbers.
HBO, give us a call.
I know you're listening, HBO. That was your biggest flub. Mine was Ghostbusters. I was much lower on it than it actually was.
I can't remember what mine was.
I think you were a little high on Warcraft. You were like a 50% on Warcraft.
I like banked on the nerds, and they were not having it.
Weren't you a little high on Warcraft?
No, I wanted it to be good, but I predicted Warcraft at an 11%.
Okay.
The lowest that any of us predict anything. And then I can't remember what else. There was something else that you were a little off on. We were all way off on like X-Men Apocalypse and Suicide Squad, but not like one more than the other. Bourne, you and I were both very off on Bourne. Max was more tempered, but yeah.
You know his name?
We do now. We all had like 1 or 2 that we were the only ones that were really close on, so that was good. And this year I think we're all going to do really well too.
Hopefully.
It's a really big slate again this summer. I felt like last summer every week it was a new blockbuster coming out, and this week it's the same. I just want to, before we jump into the ones we're predicting, the ones we're not going to talk about because we don't really care or they're not as big or there's not much to talk about. The new Pirates of the Caribbean. I don't even remember. It's the hyphenated part of the name or whatever.
Probably just make it up.
It's Dead Men Tell No Tales.
There you go.
All right, vote. Do you think that's real or fake?
I think that's real.
Yeah, that's real.
That's real.
You could have said anything. And I would believe
I
it.
remember it's like a sentence this time, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
The next one's just, have you seen Captain Jack Sparrow?
It's just like a 2-hour video of him at Disneyland and the ride comes full circle back
I
to the
actually
ride.
would like that. Transformers: The Last Night. Anthony Hopkins, real magnum opus.
Do you think he's going to be the last night?
No.
I hope this is the last film.
Yeah.
I doubt that for some reason. China has really boosted these Transformers movies. They do gangbusters over there, so I don't think we're done with Marky Mark and whoever the
And his
hell else
funky
is still
bunch.
in it.
His funky butts.
Despicable Me 3. This doesn't mean we don't think Despicable Me 3 will do well, because I think it's going to do pretty well at the box.
Is this the Minions?
Yes.
Yeah. So it went Despicable Me 2, then the Minions standalone movie, which I can't believe that's a sentence, and now Despicable Me 3.
You know, and with the Minions, their whole thing is they always go to the worst bad guy and work for the worst bad guy.
Yeah.
I heard in the Minions film that they had them disappear during World War II so they didn't work for the Nazis. So they got like frozen, or they got like hidden, or got stuck somewhere.
That's called good writing.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's how you get around it.
You do what you gotta do.
I think it's funny that the next movie I have on here is Cars 3. We didn't talk about it. It's Pixar. We also didn't talk about Finding Dory last year. Cars I've never really been into. But in the Cars universe, like all these things exist, like the cows are trucks and stuff. And I just read online how the way that Cars has set up their universe in such a nonsensical way, there was a car Hitler and like all these things in history. So they did not take the Minions approach and
Yeah, they
opt
didn't
out
shy
of that.
away.
Pixar keeps it real.
Yeah.
There's debates with Cars about like what do they eat?
Yeah.
Do they live off of gas, or do they eat these truck cows?
Yeah.
Like what is going on in this universe?
I'm hoping Cars
The
3
trailer
gets
for
really
this
dark.
looks really heavy. Yeah, like he crashes
Yeah.
in the trailer,
Yeah.
and it like looks like a full blown child drama movie.
Do you think they're trying to age with the original Cars audience? Because the original Cars came out, what, like 10 years ago now?
Yeah.
And that audience now is probably teenagers and
Maybe
young
they're trying
adults.
to pull like a Toy Story where it's still a kids film, but it has the mature themes
Yeah.
as it goes.
I'm surprised they made it. Like that's their least profitable
Yeah.
property.
What about,
second
was
one was-
Planes in the Cars universe?
I
You remember
don't know.
Planes?
Yeah.
I remember Planes.
The Dark Tower movie we're not going to talk about because I think there's a chance it gets moved out of the summer. We're not 100%
Yeah.
on it.
I've seen
Dated
like
a little.
5 photos, and that's all they
Yeah.
have so far. And one came out like last week.
Yeah. And so there's not much to talk about there.
Yeah.
And it was just like Matthew McConaughey, like at a McDonald's.
Yeah. Trying to meet up with Johnny Depp somewhere.
Rough Night's coming out this summer. That's like the new Bridesmaids, I guess. I don't think there's much to talk about after
Yeah.
seeing
It
the
just
trailer 10
looks like
minutes
your
ago for the
standard
first
dark
time.
comedy
Yeah.
with ladies.
Yeah. And then one I didn't realize was coming out this summer, and I would have added it if I'd known Captain Underpants. My favorite like novel series as a kid.
And also, we're not talking really about Guardians.
No, yeah, we kind of missed the boat on Guardians because the review embargo was lifted
Yeah.
like a week before recording. So this comes out the Tuesday before Guardians, but reviews and stuff are already
Yeah.
in. So
and
we're
it's
not
going to
gonna
make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Let's just put that out there.
Also, a couple smaller films that I'm just excited for. A Ghost Story, which is the Casey Affleck is literally a ghost with a sheet. And then It Comes at Night, which is another A24, like kind of indie release. Not much to talk about. Not a lot of wide appeal, maybe. But
Yeah.
but they come out this summer. It's going to be a pretty full summer. So, and then we
It's
have,
true.
12 movies on our list?
Yeah, we've got about a dozen films.
A good old dozen. Want to get into it?
Sure.
The first movie we're talking about comes out May 12th is King Arthur, Legend of the Sword.
Mm-hmm.
Directed by Guy Ritchie, of course, who did Sherlock Holmes and its sequel, A Game of Shadows. He did Man from U.N.C.L.E. He's doing Aladdin, which is pretty cool, I guess. But what do you
Did
guys
they
think?
say Will Smith's going to play the genie?
I read a rumor that he was in talks to voice the genie,
That'd be
which is
cool.
both amazing and kind of terrible. It's hard to picture anyone other than Robin Williams.
Yeah.
I almost would think they'd want to do like a Jim Carrey or something who has kind of like a dynamic vocal range with their voices and stuff. Like Will Smith just does Will Smith's voice.
I like the idea of setting it different, though.
Yeah.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Arthur,
Yeah. King Arthur.
King Arthur.
Couple issues. It's been moved back twice.
Yeah, but it was pretty far ahead of time that it got moved, so... You always
And,
wonder why, though. It's either
They moved
marketing
it from
or
January,
production.
and it was actually like, I don't know if this is a joke on Wikipedia, but it said it moved from January because it didn't want to compete with Chips, which was like a
Is it the same
nightmare release. No, like
I want to talk about Chips when we talk about one of our future movies, but... yeah, because then it got moved again from like March to May.
yeah.
Do you think that's a confidence move? Like, this is actually good enough to be a summer film? Or do you think it's just like,
It
we
could
don't know
go
what
either
we're doing?
way. It could be a confidence thing where they want it to be part of these summers. I feel like it's had good marketing, so
Yeah.
that's another
I
sign.
mean, trailers look good.
Yeah.
AMC did like a special one night thing where people could buy tickets to watch it.
Oh,
This past week, it was like one night. I forgot what they called it.
I wish I knew about that.
Yeah.
Night
really.
of Camelot or something like that.
was there
and-
some buzz after that?
Yeah, like people who watched it loved it.
Cool. I think the interesting thing with Guy Ritchie movies is you're either really, really going to like it because it's such a stylistic film, or you're probably just not going to get into it at all. That's how the Sherlock Holmes movies were. And those did gangbusters, but I think part of that is because of Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law. And then Man from U.N.C.L.E. kind of has the similar style, but that one was a flop box office-wise. So it's interesting. I think this looks pretty cool. I think this is the kind of movie I will like, but... is there enough star power in the cast? There's a lot of like smaller actors who you recognize, and then there's like Eric Bana in a small role, and Jude Law and Charlie Hunnam.
I think for this, the star power, like, it works because you recognize the faces. Yeah. There's not like one set person. There's not like a Will Smith.
Yeah, but I mean, Charlie Hunnam. I mean, he can carry a movie. He did Pacific Rim.
Yeah.
And I think Guy Ritchie's name is the star power attached to this one.
Yeah,
like, you know, it's Guy Ritchie, so you know what you're getting into. So I think plus the fact that it kind of just looks batshit crazy fun.
Yeah.
You have magic.
Yep.
When we watched that other King Arthur film, there was no magic.
Jeez.
It was trying to be realistic, and it was just dumb.
Yeah, and what's great is like when I was looking at box office.
The 2004 version.
Yeah, Clive Owen, Keira Knightley. They're definitely not going down that same path. That one was trying to be like this realistic Roman side. This is just like, no, it's a fantasy epic.
Yeah.
There's the giant elephants in the trailer, Oliphants, whatever they're going to call them. But no, I think this one looks good. I'm excited about that. I want to read some of that buzz now because I didn't realize that they kind of had that early screening to see how it is. But Max, why don't you start us off with your tomato meter prediction?
I'm going to go with the 70%. I kind of compared it to some of his other films and how they do, and it kind of matches with what you said, that they're usually people like him, but there's a set of people who aren't really into what Guy Ritchie does. Yeah. So I kind of just try to balance that.
Kara, what about you?
I am a little nervous critically about all the moves, so I went a little bit lower at 62%.
I think that's a good move because I also went 62%.
Look at that.
I think I personally am going to love it, but I think even the Sherlock Holmes movies, which I also love, they did not do awesome in reviews. They were in the 60s and low 70s, so I think that's kind of the ceiling for a Guy Ritchie movie with this much flair.
Yeah.
Max, what about opening weekend and domestic? You can.
I did opening weekend. I just went 35, and for domestic, I did 130.
Same numbers?
I also did 35 for opening weekend. We're not fully into summer yet. Schools are still in session. You know, it's not a holiday weekend or anything like that. So I think 35 is like a good estimate for opening. Total, I went 100 million. I just don't know if it's going to have legs or not.
Yeah. I also went 35 mil in the opening. So a classic three-fer. I went.
What if that's it? And then we're all right.
Clairvoyant. I went 155 on the total because I do think it'll have legs. Those Sherlock Holmes movies did well. The only thing with the opening that I think is going to bring it down is it's right after Guardians of the Galaxy. The only release really after this is Alien Covenant, which will definitely dip into the same audience. But I don't know. I think it has. I think there's room for it, for sure. So I'm excited for that one. It's one of the ones I'm more excited about.
Yeah, for sure. I think it looks cool.
Yeah.
I like. I said this before on our King Arthur episode. I like this mythology it comes from. And I do like this one's dipping into the wacky and the wild.
You gotta dip in the wacky sometimes.
Wow.
Our next movie is a classic series returning to the limelight. I don't know why I'm talking like this, but Alien Covenant comes out May 19th. Ridley Scott's
second return to the universe.
Yeah. Where does this line up? I'm not the biggest Alien fan, so I don't want to try and speak on this, but with Prometheus and with the trilogy, and I guess there's like Alien vs. Predator and all that, where does this line up in the universe?
I think
Prometheus was a prequel before the original series, and this is supposed to tie Prometheus to Alien.
So like Prometheus like took place, like she said, prequel before, and this is kind of like dipping into Prometheus and cutting like current with the first Alien, right?
Yeah, because did you watch Prometheus?
Yeah, I hated it.
Okay. So yeah, you saw that there wasn't like a full xenomorph like we've seen.
They were
in the
building
movies.
that mythology.
Yeah. And then Alien versus Predator, those are just like randos. I don't even know if they're counted in the full universe because all of those are prequels technically then because they take place like modern day for some weird
they're just
reason.
like fever dreams that could like be anywhere, anytime.
And usually they're like isolated and everyone dies, including all the aliens. So
were they ever there? Were they there?
And then you have Aliens, Alien 3, and then
Alien Resurrection.
Alien Resurrection, and that one takes place in the farthest future.
Okay.
So,
and then there's already talks about like even more Alien films. There's always been these talks about a Neil Blomkamp one that I don't think's happening.
I think
anymore.
it finally got shelved. That one was supposed to be to pick up where Aliens left off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it should be interesting, kind of bridging that gap. I watched Alien for the first time this past Halloween at the Airsley Grant Cinemas spooky showcase. I don't remember the name of the thing. But I
Halloween
loved it.
retro series.
Halloween retro series.
Next year will be Spooky Showcase.
Write that down, Kara.
Yes, I've got it. I'll give you a cut of the profits
Thanks.
for.
Maybe that'll be our Halloween episode next year.
Yeah,
I
the
do
Spooky
hate that I've
Showcase.
never. So my theater's called Airsley, and like I'm in my 5th year of doing the Halloween movies, and I've never thought of doing Scaresley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll be next year.
Idiot.
Let's call him Mulligan.
I loved Alien. I haven't seen Aliens yet, but I've heard it's pretty tonally different than Alien.
Yeah.
Which scene? I know you threw some candy in the
I
theater.
threw some candy at the chest burster, the first chest burster. Oh, no. And then when the captain was in the vents. And
yeah.
They just like turn and the alien's just like chilling in the vent there. It's like, hi.
Yeah.
I didn't like that.
Lost some M&Ms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I lost my Reese's Pieces there.
Aliens is James Cameron.
Yeah.
That is an action film with horror elements.
And it's.
And that's what it looks like. This looks very
yeah.
action heavy.
Yeah.
Love
Which I
the
think-
entire cast. The cast looks
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
The only in the cast that I don't like is it Catherine Waterston? Is that the main?
Yeah. Watterson.
I don't know what her first stuff was, but I did not love her in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. That's the only thing I've seen her in.
She was in Inherent Vice. She was in Inherent Vice with Joaquin.
I didn't see that, so
She was all right in that.
maybe she'll win me over here. But everyone else in the cast looks cool. Danny McBride. I'm a huge Billy Crudup fan.
Captain Franco. Can we talk about
Yeah,
Franco being
Franco.
the captain of the ship?
He hasn't been in like any of the trailers either, right?
Yeah, he was in
He was
one
in
like
the
clip.
first prologue.
Yeah.
They've
Where
Where
they've
he's
done
like,
these prologue
"Oh,
series.
my belly hurts. I'm going to bed." Like that's not a
He's
lead
gonna
up
die
to anything.
right away.
They
My belly hurts.
one thing I like.
Captain Franco would say, "I have a bellyache."
One thing I like is that Fassbender has returned to play another synthetic
Yeah.
He's
person.
so good at
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Though I hated David and Prometheus.
You're supposed to though. You're supposed
Yeah,
to like
that's
not
true.
trust him.
He's like not even an anti-hero. He's just like a villain
Yeah.
that you could kind of have fun watching, but he's very untrustworthy.
The cool thing about the character, though, he's an AI, so every rendition of him could be totally different
Yeah.
in theory.
Yeah.
So he
And,
could be just like a really cool dude here, who just wants to play chess.
They've released 2 prologues, and the first one was the whole crew with McBride and Franco and everything like toasting.
No.
And then the second one ties more to Prometheus, and it shows some stuff from Prometheus and where those characters are. So
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a cool idea with the couples going out as like a settlement,
Yeah.
which I've never really thought of with these kinds of movies, but it makes sense. So I'm kind of interested. Anybody else have any thoughts on Covenant before we get to predictions?
just that I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited for it.
Kara, what do you think tomato meter?
I went with 68%. They're not usually super loving to the
Yeah.
Alien franchise when it comes to reviews.
Yeah.
But I mean, it could do all right if it's just a fun action movie.
Yeah, I went 75%, kind of along the same lines. It's not too far off. I hope it's better than Prometheus. I hope it's more sensical, and it looks like it's going to be. So
I went with 79%. I'm gonna give Ridley Scott a little bit of hope here. He's knocked out some duds the last couple times. He's had, he did what is it, Exodus,
yeah, he did, but he also did The Martian, which
and he
was
did The Martian.
awesome.
So he caught up against some steam. So maybe we'll see.
What was that one like? The movie he made with Benicio del Toro and Brad Pitt. Oh my God, it looks terrible, and it got terrible reviews.
Oh,
The Counselor, yeah.
Boring. It looks like the American part too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was garbage.
Yeah.
So yeah, Ridley Scott. I mean, for every hit, he has like a half dozen Garbo movies.
In my theater lobby, we have a big standee for Alien. And, it says Ridley Scott on it. And this old guy came in the other day and he's like, "Riley's back." He kept screaming, "Riley's back." So that's all I can think of now whenever anyone talks about Ridley Scott or this upcoming Alien movie. I'm like, hell yeah, Riley's back. He didn't go anywhere, but Riley's back.
Well, how will Riley's new film do at the box office, Kara?
Well, here's a quick question on that. Do you think he meant Ridley or do you think he meant Ripley?
Ooh. Deep. Either one. I mean,
one.
I love
to have you on the
both
pod, old man.
Ridley or Ripley. I did opening 45 million.
Yeah.
And then total domestic 130. I think if it's actually like fun and kind of scary,
Stick around.
yeah, people keep coming back to watch it. There's not a whole lot of horror after that. So I mean,
That's
if
true.
people like getting creeped out, then it could do really well through the summer.
Yeah, and this is one of the only like big full sci-fi movies. I mean, comic book movies are sort of sci-fi, but this is your space movie, I guess, for the summer. I'm probably forgetting something, but I went 55 mil in the opening and then 130 total domestic, which seems average. That's what I was going for.
I did 55 opening.
Yep.
And then 140 domestic.
Yeah, so we're all pretty much in line. I feel like that's similar to Prometheus.
I will say, you said space movies for the summer.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have
Guardians
Guardians and Valerian and this one.
But this is really your only one.
It's the only one.
I just had to toss that in
That's
there.
a good point.
Valerian looks very realistic. Like that could be Earth.
Very grounded.
Well, speaking of grounded,
Yeah.
next up we have Baywatch.
Yeah. We're headed to the beach.
Head to the beach. Be Baywatch.
I wrote down on my original set of notes that I did not bring with me the director's name, but he did Horrible Bosses and then a series of less stellar movies like Identity Thief with Melissa McCarthy.
So you can argue that he's done at least one good comedy film.
Yeah, so he sort of knows what's going on, I guess. But this one's got The Rock. It's got Zac Efron, Alexandra Daddario. It's got like a pretty Baywatch cast, I'd say.
Yeah.
And it looks just like they're trying to touch that 21 Jump Street mold of rebooting an old show into a raunchy like comedy, that action comedy basically. Mm-hmm. This is where I wanted to bring up Chips, which also tried to take that route and flopped horribly. Mm-hmm. And I didn't realize until after it came out that it was Dax Shepard. Is that his name? Mm-hmm. He wrote and directed it as well. Which is kind of weird.
Well, he needs to write better because all the jokes in the trailer were just like weird homophobic jokes.
Yeah.
And I mean, that didn't work in Good Luck Chuck. It's not going to work here. Like, we've left that era of that kind of humor.
Yeah, Dane Cook's no longer in these films. You can't do that anymore. But Baywatch looks at least a little more... I chuckle a bit during the...
You have two crazy, hella charismatic leads. Yeah. You have Zac Efron, who does crazy comedies now all the time, and then you have The Rock, who also does crazy comedies. Yeah. So, I mean, as far as casting, like you said, it's spot on. Yeah. If anything, they'll at least deliver their jokes well. Whether or not the jokes are funny, who knows?
I had a lot of hope for the trailer until it got to that last scene when they're in the coroner's office or whatever, and the like fats dripping on Zac Efron. The fact that that joke is in the movie, I don't think is a great sign because it's just such lowbrow, body humor like that.
Yeah.
And there's gonna be a lot of physical comedy because it's Baywatch, you know. But I don't know. I can go here or there on it. I'm not sure.
I've seen a lot of Baywatch in my life because it was my dad's favorite show when we were growing up. I told you guys earlier. Yeah. My dad had a rule: no speaking during Baywatch.
Which is probably for the best.
Yeah. So I've seen a decent amount of Baywatch. Where do you think?
I never watched it. Was it actually funny, or was it supposed to be like drama?
Yes. It was actually funny, both intentional and unintentional. Okay. And then it was trying to be drama. We caught an episode the other night where
you and your dad?
No, me and my wife. What's David Hasselhoff's character is named Mitch. I believe that's who The Rock is playing.
Yeah.
And one of his old Marine buddies showed up because he used to be a Marine, and they have to solve a murder. Like, literally, that's in the show. Or a kidnapping. They had to solve a kidnapping. Yeah. And it was drug lords who were, like, drilling to get their
Shouldn't he have been, like, a Navy SEAL? Wouldn't
I think maybe he was a Navy SEAL, actually. But it was something like that.
Not to be a stickler. Wait till we get to Dunkirk.
Yeah. He was military. But no, so, and the guy was blind. I don't know why his partner in that episode was blind. So
he's not gonna find her.
Yeah, that was like an early '90s. Like there were a lot of like weird tropes of like certain characters.
And the whole time, his son is helping a kid who's surviving cancer, like to have like a good time on the beach. The son the cancer child accidentally like drowns in the water, and they have to revive him, and it works. It was a ridiculous episode, but it made me stop and think. This looks so ridiculous that it kind of matches the theme. So I don't think they're that far off on what they're going for. They did tune it up to be more raunchy and more ridiculous.
Yeah. And it is rated R, which I think 5 years ago we would not have seen because that's more in vogue now. But I don't know. It's either going to be like 21 Jump Street or Chips. I mean, those are your floor and ceiling.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Memorial Day weekend, so how's that working for it?
Mm-hmm. If it had talent like 21 Jump Street had with not even just Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum, but the directors... Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, then I'd have a lot more faith.
Yeah.
But these guys just don't have as much of a track record. And as popular as The Rock is, he does churn out, or he has in the past churned out quite a few duds.
Yeah.
So just the
Efron
fact that he's
too.
involved.
I mean,
yeah,
his
oh,
last
yeah.
one was Mike and Dave was like a total.
What
flop.
was the one he did with De Niro?
Dirty Grandpa.
Dirty Grandpa. I was gonna say Bad Grandpa, but I know that's
Yeah.
Johnny Knoxville.
But then he did Neighbors, and the first Neighbors was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
So.
And those Neighbors and Neighbors 2 both did really well at the box office.
Yeah.
So this one's kind of an enigma. It's a tough one to pick.
I think the name plus the fact that a lot of people are like, well, it'll be like sexy people, the name,
Yeah, for sure.
and then their names. I think it'll bring in some crowds.
Yeah, I do too. Let's start with just the tomato meter predictions though. I went 44%. I'm thinking it's going to be more to the chips side of the scale.
I went 53% because we definitely talk about all the time how comedies tend to have lower ratings. So I definitely think it could be below Fresh.
Yeah, this is going to be my make or break point now because I went 25%.
There you go.
I mean,
This is
from the
this is
trailer,
the separator.
I don't think
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's going to be,
Raving.
No, yeah.
super
I mean, it's
fresh.
going to be tough.
I mean, it
for-
could do tons of money. I mean, I predicted that it would make a lot of money because it's, a kickoff to summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I predicted a $25 million opening weekend and a $95 million total.
For weekend,
domestic.
are we counting just the 3-day or the 5-day?
No, you could do the full. Oh yeah, because this one opens on a Wednesday
Yeah.
or something. I'll do 26 then. That's what I'll get on Wednesday. Matt, Kara, what did you have?
I did 55 opening just because it's a holiday weekend.
Same.
I did 150 total.
And I did 140 total.
So I think those would be your best case scenarios with it. That would mean it's a success. It probably makes its budget back. I'm just taking the more pessimistic side. It'll be interesting. I mean, there's not really anything that matches
I
it
will say
in the
it's
summer
the kind of
slate.
film where if the critics and therefore Rotten Tomatoes says that it sucks, I don't think the audience is going to care.
Yeah.
Yeah, some movies, and I think more so now than ever, people are very responsive to the reviews.
Yeah.
But this is the kind of movie that
Doesn't
really
matter.
doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if anything, like, even teenagers would keep showing up to it to be
Yeah,
like,
for
that
sure.
was funny. And I can now watch R-rated movies, so why not?
Yeah, so I got to test it out on something. For me, that was Forgetting Sarah Marshall. That was my first R-rated movie. It came out shortly after my 17th birthday. And pivoting into Wonder Woman, our first, well, not the first mega blockbuster of the summer, but the first one we're talking about after Guardians. DC Comics, a lot riding on this one, I think. I think there's a lot of wavering faith in the DC cinematic universe. And there's a lot of hope for this one. It's also pretty cool. This is the first superhero movie with the female lead that's really driving it. We were talking a little bit earlier how we're both doubting the marketing because I haven't seen too much of it. I mean, I don't even watch like TV anymore, so it's not really fair of me to say that, but I feel like it hasn't been out there like Guardians and
Yeah, we're
others.
like a month out now. Like,
Yeah.
we should be sick of seeing
Yeah.
Diana.
I
And
remember
don't
when
feel like
Civil
we're seeing it every-
War came out, it was everywhere. Dr.
Yeah.
Pepper sponsorship, like all this stuff.
Yeah.
For this one, it's not as much.
I mean, last summer, Suicide Squad, same thing.
Yeah.
If you go to like YouTube pages, like Justice League has more,
Yeah.
and that opens in November.
I mean, two thoughts with that. Either they've already decided it's going to suck, so they've just stopped promoting it,
Yeah.
or they're hoping it'll kind of like hit a summer sleeper weird spot where like people are like, I'm surprised it's actually good.
It
Go
doesn't
see
look
it.
that bad though. Like watching
No,
the trailer,
no.
it's not like
it reminds me a lot of Man of Steel, like tonally and everything. And it's very dark, like just like color wise. It's very bright when she's on her, not planet, but
Island.
And then when they get to World War I England, it's very dark, as it should be.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting trailer. There, you can't tell what the antagonizing force is going to be, really.
I think they've done a good job with the trailers overall, making it like intriguing enough. I mean, it's DC and it's the first Wonder Woman movie. I think people will show up. Like, that's kind of no question. But how much will it be like BVS? Who knows?
Yeah.
So.
And then it's also a little weird that we've already gotten a taste of Wonder Woman from BVS, and now we're doing an origin story. That's just kind of unheard of so far. Not that there's a big track record for superhero movies, but with the Marvel properties, at least, it's never really been like that. Maybe Spider-Man you could count now, but
yeah,
Spider-Man's been well established in film. This is like the first Wonder Woman movie ever, right?
Yeah. She's had a TV show. She's been in cartoons, and she had another TV show that they tried to launch that didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
But
It's an interesting one for sure. Patty Jenkins is directing, and she has not done much as far as I can tell. She did a movie, was it Monster? No.
Yeah, she did Monster with Charlize Theron.
Yeah, and it looks interesting. It got good reviews. I know Wonder Woman, before she was attached, went through a few directors, as it seems most DC films do.
Yeah.
So it should be interesting, though. The marketing makes me question it a little bit, but what do you guys think?
I think I'm pretty hopeful overall, but I'm also trying to be realistic about my DC fandom. So I'm excited to see it. Do we want to do the numbers now?
Yeah, let's do that. What's your tomato meter prediction?
I'm going to go hoping this is fresher for DC. I'm going with a 68%.
Okay. Which would be their biggest win to date.
Yeah.
Kara, what do you think?
I went 75%. I'm hopeful.
I went 55%, which would, I think, still be the biggest DC cinematic universe. But I don't like how dark the tone is, and I don't like that I have no idea what the main conflict is. That's just my thoughts there. And now, I mean, after I was glowing about Suicide Squad and was so let down by it, I'm going to be a little on the downer side. I don't think that number affects my box office. I went pretty high on that. Max, where'd you go box office for Wonder Woman?
Opening weekend, I went with 80. I feel like comic book movies always do big, and there's enough break between this and Guardians where I feel like it can it can bring some people in.
Kara?
Opening, I went 70 million. Domestic, 200 million.
Oh yeah, I forgot domestic.
Which
I did 225.
Yeah, I went higher than those. I went 100 million for the opening and 300 for domestic, which is definitely on the high end for a superhero movie, I guess. But now that I'm thinking about the marketing, though, I really wonder if it could get there with the fact that they're not really pushing it that hard, and the vision for DC seems to even be further with Justice League and stuff. I feel like I even hear more about Aquaman now than I do about Wonder Woman.
There's a chance we're just like wrong, and that we're not the target market for it, or that people are just going to show up because it is the first Wonder Woman movie.
Yeah.
Like, you could bring your kids to it and know that like it's not going to be like, I don't know, like offensive. Suicide Squad.
Yeah,
It'll be more
I just
like a
wonder
movie.
with like female comic book movies, like it's a lot riding on it.
Yeah.
Like if it flops,
is.
it'll be like decades.
Yeah.
Like we'll get a new Spider-Man like every summer, but
but then,
it'll take decades. If this flops, it'll take decades for another female.
Well, and then there's Captain Marvel on the horizon, which just got directors, and I don't remember.
Yeah,
who's
they haven't
directing
started
it.
it.
I feel like that's just like, we're making that.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Because Marvel's got a lot of shit
making it.
for not including female superheroes, which I think is fair.
Yeah.
So there's a lot riding on Wonder Woman. I think there's more riding on it than anybody wants there to be, but that's just the reality of the situation.
Realistically, since they have Justice League pretty much, I mean, it's coming out later in the year.
I mean,
like they're going to still push
already.
forward with a couple more films, but it might not have... with their track record, the DC cinematic universe isn't going to have the lifespan that the Marvel one has had.
Yeah.
But where do you go from here? Do you just like split it up? Do you just start over again? Like, I don't know. You're kind of stuck now for a while. So
yeah, I mean, it's not like they're not making money though.
Oh yeah,
so
for
like,
sure. Yeah.
They're still going to keep making them, but after Justice League, it's Aquaman, and then I think the Flash solo movies kind of hit the deck because another director left it. And then there was talks about, what was it, like the Dark Magicians?
Yeah, the Magic Justice League.
Yeah, with Doug Liman as the director. But that hasn't started production yet. And it's interesting, after Aquaman, really, there's not like a solid plan forward. Man of Steel 2 was announced.
But
and the Batman with Matt Reeves, actually. So there's a couple more. But Marvel's planning these movies out a decade ahead.
Yeah, they're like,
of time.
here's a PowerPoint of our next 47 years of filmmaking.
But even then, Marvel's run into some snafus because they had announced, like they had soft announced like a Black Widow property years ago, and they still haven't even touched that.
Yeah.
And then they were trying to push the Inhumans, which is some random comic they have, and that got changed to a TV show because of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I think it's just like a new series they're trying to make.
I think Marvel's running into some like contract stuff because I think Robert Downey Jr.'s contract is up like pretty soon, like right after Infinity War. A lot of these actors are going to be on new contracts, and they're going to be much more expensive. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see where they go from that.
It's currently rumored they're going to do like a game change thing where like the whole universe changes or something.
Yeah. Which from a business perspective might be smart because then you can jettison your more expensive people, bring some new ones in.
Speaking of jettisoning people, our next film is The Mummy.
That's a pro-level segue right there. This is Tom Cruise's The Mummy. Mummy Impossible, as some are calling it, because it looks like a Mission Impossible movie.
I heard someone theorize recently that the first film in this series is going to be The Mummy, and that Tom Cruise is going to carry on to the next film dealing with another monster.
Yeah,
and that, like he kind of like
is he gonna do all the Universal monsters? Like they tried to reboot it with the Wolfman, which wasn't terrible, but people didn't watch it.
That was the Benicio one.
Benicio, like maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe a little less actually.
Well,
I think a little less.
They have announced this whole monster cinematic universe, and isn't there another Dracula movie or something coming out soon that's not a part of it?
Maybe
there's a bunch of weird stuff here.
Yeah,
With the
I feel like there's
Universal
always a
side.
Dracula movie coming out.
Yeah. But I wonder if the next movie would include Russell Crowe's Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde.
Could be cool.
Which he's in The Mummy here. This has Russell Crowe, Sophia Boutella, is that?
Or yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Who's kind of everywhere now, and she's in one of our later movies too, but she's The Mummy.
This is a weird hill to plant your like cinematic universe flag on.
Yeah.
But if they do it and it's cool, I mean, I'm into it. But
It's almost hard to picture where Marvel and DC's cinematic universes obviously have these massive properties behind them. Like The Mummy. Like, people know what mummies are, but there's not like, oh, yeah, I remember The Mummy.
well, if anything, they're going to compete with the Brendan Fraser Mummy, which the first one's phenomenal.
Yeah, it's like a fun adventure film. This one is like a dark spec
The little
ops.
baby rock.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he was the Scorpion
Yeah.
King, wasn't he?
But yeah, like, I don't know. This could be cool, but the trailer, the teaser
so
I was
weird.
into, and the trailer I'm like, eh.
Yeah. I think the movie should be more fun than it looks from the trailers.
Yeah.
Like, Jake Johnson is kind of the sidekick, and he, in New Girl and Jurassic World, he's just like a goofball. And in this, he looks like a really grim whatever he is. And, like, that's not cool, you know?
Well, maybe it's time to see.
God, you can't play anything else.
Maybe it's
You have to
time
be
to
fun.
see that Jake Johnson.
Maybe, yeah. But, like, do you
Maybe
do that
that's
in
how
The
he is
Mummy?
in real life.
Yeah, maybe. He's a really grim
Maybe Tom
guy.
Cruise is the humorous one.
Tom Cruise is I am so weird with him. Like
I fucking love Tom
I have like
Cruise.
a love-hate. Like he's this bizarre Scientologist weirdo,
Yeah, he's a total
non-aging
Yeah.
weirdo. But then you see him on screen and you can't help but watch
I have
him.
this running theory because the whole thing is he does the stunts like
Yeah.
duct tape me to a plane and crash it. I'll do it.
Yeah.
And it's like I think that's how he feels alive. So I think that's why he signs on for these movies to like
Well, Xenu
feel
keeps
living.
him safe.
Yeah.
When
Xenu.
they have all these like back end stuff of the making of the Mummy and the Mission Impossibles, and he always looks like a giddy schoolgirl when they're talking about the stunts.
Yeah.
He's like going insane, and they are pretty crazy stunts. Like the one in Rogue Nation where he is literally strapped to the plane is insane.
Yeah.
And the one in Ghost Protocol where he's climbing that world's tallest building is also insane. And then here, I guess the stunt is that plane crash. I don't know. It's nuts, but.
Like I want to hate him and I can't hate him. Like Val Kilmer did an interview recently and they asked him about him during Top Gun and he was like, he was so sweet. Like all of us were like awful, rowdy guys, like going out with the extras and stuff, and he was just a sweetheart. Like, why can't you just make me hate Tom Cruise? Because I want to hate him.
Come on, Tommy.
And with Tom Cruise, when he plays like a jerk character who learns his lesson and becomes better, that's like when he's at his best.
Yeah.
So maybe they do that in this.
I think that one of the bigger things going against this movie is it's directed by almost a first-time director, Alex Kurtzman, I believe, who has written a ton of stuff, but
He's done a few pictures.
he wrote Cowboys vs. Aliens, and
Yeah.
he wrote, that's a bad start, but he did write some good ones too. He wrote Star Trek Into Darkness. He wrote The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Don't hold that
Then he was
against
the
him.
showrunner, or one of the showrunners on Fringe and Hawaii Five-0 and stuff. So it's a really weird collection that he's been a part of. So he's got a confusing track record, and who knows how he do. He wrote and directed this. So
Yeah.
and he's tied with the future Universal properties, so they're kind of planting their flag in him. Just a weird thing to say. But Kara, how do you think this will do Rotten Tomatoes?
I did 65%. It doesn't look like anything new, anything critics are gonna think is excellent, but I think I don't know if it's fun. It'll probably do really well because people love him and they don't know why and they want to hate him like me, but they can't.
Yeah, and I think people go out like for that new Tom Cruise stunt. They want to see that stuff, and it's Tom Cruise. I went 62%, pretty much the same thing. I feel like the floor, like it's not going to totally bomb. Though now I'm thinking about it, Jack Reacher Never Go Back was pretty terribly reviewed.
I think people are just mad. Like, I heard so many people mad that like he didn't
Go back.
Why wouldn't he go back?
That he like didn't match the description of the book character.
Yeah, Tom Cruise is too short to play Jack Reacher.
I've heard that from about 300 senior citizens.
Same here.
It blows my mind because I didn't even know that was a book character.
Yeah, I didn't know
Yeah.
either. Now I know. I know.
Well,
a lot.
it's a whole series of novels.
Yeah.
Apparently, the description of Jack Reacher perfectly matches The Rock.
Does it?
Yeah, and they cast Tom Cruise. So,
But
Well, for the record, I went with 60%.
60%. Yeah, so we're all in that
Beautiful.
same. It won't be that bad. But it's not going to wow us.
Yeah, it's just
in a
like
range.
Tom Cruise pushes it from, because originally I wrote 40 and then I scratched it out and put 60.
Tom, you're worth a full 20 points.
Hey man, that's more than most people.
It's definitely more than most people. Kara, how do you feel? Kara, how do you feel box office wise?
box office, I went 80 million opening.
Wow,
'cause
that's
it's
pretty
Tom,
high.
It's Tom Cruise.
No, I get it.
You know, if
You'll have to sign me.
If Wonder Woman doesn't hit it in the like week
There's
before,
an opening there,
not a whole lot going on in the like middle of June. So I went 80 million opening, 180 total.
Yeah, I went 55 opening and 200 total. 55 is still a pretty big opener. If Wonder Woman does do well, it'll definitely affect The Mummy. We have kind of a big gap on our schedule here of the movies we're talking about, but I think like Pirates of the Caribbean and a couple others come out in that range. So.
Yeah, Pirates is on Memorial Day also.
Oh, okay,
with
so
Baywatch.
that's before it. Yeah.
I did 40 million and then 130 full run.
Yeah.
Just because I'm like, I don't know.
It's hard to care about it.
Yeah,
So why
and
would it do
I mean,
that
this is the section of the summer where like everything's out. So if by chance Wonder Woman's amazing, you know, like people might still be seeing that a couple weeks out.
For
So
sure. And there's other good movies coming out later in the summer. I don't think The Mummy stands out that much either.
No,
Like
no.
when I'm thinking about this summer, I don't think about The Mummy.
Yeah, if I were like wasn't someone that went to the movies all the time, I would wait for like Planet of the Apes or something like that.
Yeah.
If I was like waiting for an action
Spider-Man.
movie.
I would go to
Yeah,
Spider-Man
yeah.
next. But all right, our next movie is Baby Driver, Edgar Wright's new release. Probably, what's the name of the trilogy? The Cornetto trilogy, is that what they call it? He's done with that now, or for now they're done making those movies. So this is like a crime heist movie in Atlanta. It's got a really good cast. It's got Jamie Foxx. It's got Kevin Spacey, John Bernthal, John Hamm, like a lot of really good actors.
did you hear about why it's in Atlanta?
No.
It's really interesting. The studios, at first he had written it to be part of LA, just like take place in LA. And the studio was like, this is great. We're going to make this. It cost way too much to shoot this in LA. So let's move it to Atlanta, just film there. We could say it's LA.
Yeah.
And he was like, I don't want to just say it's LA. Like if it's in Atlanta, it should be Atlanta. And so then he started changing the story to match Atlanta, and he realized like it was a way better fit for it. So he like embraced the Atlanta-ness
That's
of
awesome.
it.
Yeah.
So he's all in on it being in Atlanta now.
Everything I hear about Edgar Wright making movies like makes me a lot more passionate about film, because it feels like he really has like earnest writing and stuff, like to really lean into your location like that. And even from the trailers, having lived in Atlanta for a while, that has an Atlanta look where it's not like all glamour of LA and like the subway and the parking structures and stuff. It all looks like Atlanta, so it's really cool to me.
Yeah.
It's cool that they really embrace that. I honestly just think this looks amazing, and I trust Edgar Wright pretty blindly. Everything he's done, I've liked, including Ant-Man, which he sort of did. There was some fallout there where he left late in the project, but pretty much everything was set
Like
to go to
teed up.
production. Yeah. But Scott Pilgrim is one of my favorite, more rewatchable movies that I watch. That was kind of a box office flop. This, I hope, has more box office potential. What do you guys think?
Yeah, hopefully.
It's the hard part because like I think he makes great films, but I think usually the market doesn't understand them.
Yeah.
Like what are we going to do with this? But no, I think he'll make some good money off of it, and I think he'll continue to make good films from the track record this one has. But Jamie Foxx is a good name to have in here.
Yeah, it's definitely the biggest star power he's had on a film. And his only other wide release was Scott Pilgrim, which, as much as and I think we all like it, it is kind of a niche to hit, that gamer kind of culture. And the stars in it weren't household names, really.
Yeah.
So this kind of has more familiar faces, so I think that'll help it. I think this will be his biggest box office box office success yet.
It looks fun. I mean, it's all like I'm a soundtrack snob, so like it looks like it's all based on the music, which is awesome. Even if it's cool. Just like a long music video, that could be cool.
Yeah, that would be really cool actually. I just love the rhythm and how kinetic Edgar Wright's movies are, and this feels like it was built to capture those parts of his filmmaking. So.
The driving scenes look fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And as someone who's watched a ton of movies now that have not fun driving scenes, looking at you Gone in 60 Seconds.
Looking at you get away.
Like, if your movie has driving, it better be fun.
Yep.
So, I'll say that.
Kara, what do you think it'll do tomato meter?
I went 85% tomato meter. It looks good.
Yeah, I went 95%, which is probably clouded by my own excitement. Though there are like 15 or 16 reviews out on it already from probably somewhere where it already showed, and it's at 100%.
I know it did South by Southwest.
Yeah, so
I
that's
did
probably where it came.
smack in between 90%.
Solid 90. Yeah, so that's pretty optimistic from all of us. Kara, how do you think it'll do at the box office? It's kind of the big question.
You know, his biggest is 30 million domestic. Opening was like 10 million.
Yeah.
I think it'll get a boost, but I don't know how much of a boost it can get. So I'm going to go 20 million opening, 50 million total.
Which would still be a big win for him.
Yeah, it's probably on the low end. I mean, I would love to see it do more than that.
I did 20 million opening, 60 total.
I did 25 opening and 80 total. I think if it gets really good reviews, it'll have like it can survive Spider-Man coming out a couple weeks later and stuff. And this has an even wider release than Scott Pilgrim, which what's your wide, I guess. But it's going to all theaters at the start. And I feel like there's been more marketing. I feel like I've seen more for it. But again, I'm not really part of any marketing demos anymore.
If you've seen the ads on
watch.
YouTube at all, then you're in the marketing group.
Yeah.
So
the date also did change. It moved up, which is also usually a good sign.
That's usually a good sign because it was I think it was.
I mean, they
Emoji Movie
either
slot.
move up if they're trying to dump it and get rid of it,
Yeah.
or they move up to summer if they feel like it's really.
Usually,
good.
when they move up to like January, so that nobody thinks about it, like monster trucks.
God.
That movie actually, I think, did
hoping.
better than they thought it would because it was in like the 30s on Rotten Tomatoes when it looked like a 0.
But you told us they had already written it off, right? Like they already made the
they
loss.
written it off
Paramount,
as a huge loss, but
Meet Creech. Creech 2.
all right. Our next movie is one of the other heavy hitters here, Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Spider-Man: Homecoming. If you want to check out the movie early, just watch the trailer. Because it looks like the entire film is in that trailer.
If you want to check out the movie earlier, watch the 2 other incarnations that have come out in our lifetime.
Sorry, Spider-Man. We love you. We're just burning on you a little bit.
I'm really excited for this one. And I didn't even think that trailer we watched showed too much because I still don't fully understand the conflict. A movie like Batman vs. Superman, I knew everything that was going to happen in the conflict.
I'll say this.
In the trailer.
When we watched the trailer today, I, in my head, counted it as a 3-act structure.
Yeah.
And it matches perfectly to an entire film's 3-act structure. So not that this is necessarily the entire film, but you could take what's in the trailer and expand that to a full movie and it works, like beat by beat.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is, the director doesn't make the trailer. Like the production company makes the trailer, and it's Sony, and they have like a terrible track record with everything. So,
the director is John Watts, who does not have much of a track record. He did a movie called Cop Car, which got pretty good reviews, but I don't think it was a full release. But he wrote and directed this, so it's kind of a lot of faith in him, I would say. But what I really like from the movie so far is the casting is extremely diverse. And they talked a lot in the production about making it really authentic New York. And I think that's a good sign. I remember when we talked about the trailer, Max, you said it looks like every other Spider-Man movie, like from the color palette and stuff. But I like the idea of them. I mean, they cast like Hannibal Buress and Donald Glover. And I don't know who the friend is in the trailer, but...
Zendaya.
Yeah, Zendaya.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of interesting casting there to me.
I mean, the thing with this is I think it's going to be good. I don't know if it'll be like the best Spider-Man film ever made, but I think it'll be good.
What's the best Spider-Man movie ever made, according to you guys?
That's tough.
Spider-Man 2 is my
Are you Team Toby?
I like Andrew Garfield better than Tobey.
I like Andrew's performances better.
Yeah.
But I do think Spider-Man 2 was the best Spider-Man film, probably. Spider-Man, the first Tobey Maguire one, could get pretty high, but the Macy Gray scene is ridiculous. So.
What? Freakaloo.
Yeah, freaky Lulu wackadoo. I mean, they're weird. They're just weird. I love how weird they are, but I did like Andrew Garfield's performances better as Peter Parker.
My deal is like, you know, Spider-Man the first series came out like when I was in high school. And Toby looked like he was pushing 30. Like, it really bothered me how old he looked.
One thing I noticed is when the first Spider-Man series came out, we were kids. Like, we were teenagers.
So we, like, bought it.
Range. So we're like, he's
That's
older.
what you look like when you're a sophomore.
That's older people.
But then as you age and watch it, you're like, he looks like he's like my dad. But then with Andrew Garfield, I knew some people with teenagers, some older relatives of mine who were like, he looks like a grown-up, not a kid. And now that I'm like older, I'm like, he looks like a kid to me. And going back and watching it now, I'm like, I'm just like, they all look like adults playing kids now because of this guy. What's his name?
Tom Holland.
Tom Holland.
Yeah.
Tom Holland's actually like a teen.
Yeah.
At least when they made this one. So that kind of sets it apart.
It definitely does. I think they're going to embrace that too with the high school stuff. I feel like it's going to be more than even the first Spider-Man had in high school.
Which is good.
Yeah.
You know, why not? Let's do it.
Yeah, and I mean, that's one of the things that makes Spider-Man Spider-Man, right?
Yeah. And I mean, the problem here isn't even like all their fault. It's that the second series of Spider-Man did not try to be too different.
Yeah.
So now seeing this one, if it at all matches either of those two, everyone's like, well, it looks like him.
Well, I mean, now he's got like interactions with the Avengers.
And
that's going to set it apart.
Yeah, that'll set it apart.
I mean, it'll settle apart, but like it also will any threats against him not seem as bad because he's got like Tony in his corner.
Yeah.
I mean, I have that like feeling of like even when he, you know, Michael Keaton is scary. So if he's coming at you. You know, how
scared should we be?
Yeah,
like Tony Stark's right around the corner.
Yeah, like they're all gonna hop in if he gets.
I'll say
like
this.
Avengers Tower is in the trailer, so
if the Vulture's costume in any way is based off of Stark technology, I'm gonna be so angry.
That's what they do.
Because that's
all of their
that's
milk.
every
all the
Avengers
technology.
movie.
Yeah. So please don't.
No
be
one
that.
else on the planet
I know.
invents anything else.
Well, there was Sam Rockwell in Iron Man 2. He just wasn't as good.
And he stole the technology.
Logan Marshall Green, who was in The Invitation, and I know he's been in a couple other things. He's in this as like a smaller villain I know named the Tinkerer, and I feel like he's going to have some type of technology thing with him. They show him firing one of those like purple plasma brays.
I noticed Keaton keeps saying stuff like, "You worry about your family, I worry about mine."
Yeah.
And I think I might have said this before. I wonder if his family is like something like the Secret Six, whatever they were called, Sinister Six, like his bad guy group. If he has like a gang that he cares about. Or if he just means like his family, maybe he means like pet birds. I don't know, but
please, that would be amazing. So you mentioned how threatening can anybody be in the Avengers universe anymore. I felt the same during Suicide Squad when it's like this world-ending threat, and it's like they don't even call Batman or Superman. Well, I guess Superman's dead. Or Wonder Woman, who's shown up. So it's like how Flash was even in Suicide Squad, and they don't utilize him. So that is definitely a line to walk that I don't think any superhero movie's done a good job of doing so far. How can things still be threatening without everything being a blue beam in the sky?
Yeah, I mean,
and still feeling
that's like
grounded?
how Spider-Man is. You're like, oh God, he's in high school. Like, what's he gonna do? He's all on
the
his own.
perfect example for how to do it right is the first season of Daredevil, where it's just like Daredevil's going after organized crime, but you have a whole season to flesh that out.
Yeah, and
so if you want Spider-Man to be a lower class like hero, you got to focus in on that.
Like a smaller scale.
Yeah.
Yeah, and organized crime would be like small enough that none of the other Marvel heroes would maybe get involved. Like Tony Stark would be like, I got other things to work on. My robots are destroying a Slovakian country.
But I mean, what if Keaton's not really like doing anything that bad? What if he's like
he cut a boat in half,
breaking into the zoo or something?
Yeah, he wants his birds back. He'll do anything for his family.
I hope that this is all correct.
And that's why like Tony's like, just get out of my limo. I don't really care about the Brooklyn Zoo that much.
Yeah.
I actually really like where Tony Stark's character's gone in the Marvel movies, but I hope he's not that much in it. He's been all over the trailers. And I think
they do that because he's like the hottest property. Like,
he definitely is. Yeah. And they're going to put him in it more. But I hope it really does become Peter Parker's story. That's one of my bigger concerns.
Thing is, Marvel knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
Sony barely knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it turns out.
But, well, if it sucks, we'll get a new one in 2 years.
Who's going to be the next Spider-Man? Logan Lerman.
Too old.
Doesn't Marvel have creative control of this movie? And Sony just is doing all the distribution.
This
and stuff?
film, I think maybe.
Yeah.
And then
I know
they
that
get him
it's been weird.
They get him for the next
Infinity War.
Avengers.
Yeah.
But then that's what the contract's for them. I think it's like not that much.
Yeah.
After that, it's just Sony doing whatever they want.
Unfortunately, maybe. Max, what do you think tomato meter for this one?
I went with 88. It's MCU. Go high. Why not?
The floor is low, or the floor is high for it. They've never really turned out a dud yet.
Yeah, like even their lesser performing ones
Even
do
a
pretty
formulaic
good.
Marvel movie gets in the 60s.
Yeah. It does everything it needs to do if it's very formulaic, so.
Kara, how about you?
78.
70.
You going with that spider fatigue? Bring it down just a little bit.
Listen, I had it lower, but I gave him some Keaton points.
Some Keaton point. How many points is Keaton worth? More than Cruz?
Um,
A Cruz is worth 20.
oh,
Keaton's worth
6.
6. I think that math adds up. I went 90, just because it's Marvel, pretty much. That's the ceiling for a Marvel movie, and I think it looks good. Sue me. Max, how do you think box office?
I did big opening. Let's do 150 for opening.
Boom.
Boom.
The
It's
Marvel
Spider-Man.
numbers.
I'm feeling the ripples from that bombshell.
Yeah. That's like
can
double
do it.
half of the
Oh
ones.
no, it definitely can.
Yeah.
Alright.
It's Spider-Man.
I went 100 on the dot opening.
I went 110.
Nice.
Ooh.
How about total domestic? Hit me with it.
250.
250. I feel like that's a little low for a Marvel property.
I did
250.
I did 300.
I went 320.
Nice.
I feel like we've all been around the same box office numbers for the most part, which makes me feel better about my predictions.
Yeah, last year we had some.
Yeah, we were all
whoppers.
over the place last year. I know I was all over the place.
You're like Independence Day, $1 trillion.
Our next movie is War of the Planet of the Apes. The third in the Planet of the Apes reboot series comes out July 14th. We got a little Woody Harrelson in there.
Mm-hmm.
We still got Caesar.
It looks cool, man.
Yeah, I actually really enjoy this series. Matt Reeves directed Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and he's doing this one as well as The Batman, which comes out
Never.
But I think it's one of the better blockbuster franchises right now, like constant quality.
It delivers.
What's also cool, I think, just stylistically, is it's almost like these anthology series where you don't have to have any returning characters.
Yeah.
Like Gary Oldman had an entire arc in the second one, his character. And what's the name of the... I always forget this guy's name. Jason Clarke was in the second one, too, and his arc ends in the second one. This has totally different characters. I think that's really cool.
Well, the main character is Caesar. You could argue.
Well, yeah, Caesar.
that
but
he carries over.
on the human side.
Yeah, I know.
You know?
You're
So now you have
absolutely
Woody Harrelson as this warlord.
So, we know what side you're on, Scott.
No, it's interesting. The apes are definitely the good guys in this movie. The humans are definitely evil, but you can understand where they're coming from with everything.
Well, with the second one, they did a good job of like both had good points and both. I mean, obviously Gary Oldman's character was the villain, but
even he had like you could totally understand where
he was a
coming
fully
from.
realized villain.
Yeah.
And then, but the humans they were working with were like they were good. It was good balancing black and white and gray and kind of pulling it all together. This one, it definitely looks like they're setting it up with more polarity. But at the same time, if they do it right and Woody Harrelson sells his ideas to the audience, then it'll be really cool.
Yeah, and Kara, I know you didn't see the second one. We talked about that, but the whole idea is the simian flu has killed like 98% of the population, so it's just these small bands of humans left. And what they're kind of going with here is it seems like the Woody Harrelson war force is like the last stand of humans. So it's kind of interesting. Now they've progressed the apes really well too. Now they're like all wielding guns.
Yeah.
I remember there was a scene in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes where one of the apes is on a horse jumping through fire with machine guns in each of its hands, and it was ridiculous. And now that seems more commonplace because they're all riding horses and wielding guns and stuff.
And I like that there's a gorilla in this who's trying to work with the humans.
Yeah.
And one of them says to him, "You'll never be one of them."
Yeah.
And they showed the gorilla's
have that,
face.
like on both sides because there's like a baby, like the apes
Yeah.
have a
That
baby.
like young woman.
So
Young
it looks cool.
Young
I
girl.
like where this is going.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of the original Planet of the Apes series. I've seen all of them multiple times, and it's nobody. I don't run into anyone besides my wife who's like, "I love those movies." But no, I watch those all the time. So
I
very
haven't
much.
seen any of the originals, so
You should at least
My
watch
dad
the
used
first
to watch
one.
them all the time.
Yeah.
I've seen parts of probably all
They
of
actually
them.
had a wacky TV show at one point, live action TV show too. I
Those
remember
cavemen,
watching
right?
it a couple times as a kid, but I never stuck with it.
Kara, what do you think tomato meter?
I think they're pretty solid. I'm gonna go with 85%.
Yeah.
They keep the same, quality. They come out at the same time of year. They've got a
every
formula.
2 years they get one, yeah. I went 88%, so pretty much right along the
Same.
Wow.
Wow.
Not a lot of variation in our scores here.
We're getting good at this,
Yeah.
or we're all bad at this.
Whatever. Yeah.
Box office, Kara, what'd you do?
I did 75 million opening.
Mm-hmm.
Based on name, we're on the third one now. They've all done
That's
really well.
literally the same opening I put.
And then
Literally.
they have legs. They stick around in theaters for a while because people keep watching them.
Yeah.
So 200 million total.
Yeah, these are some leggy apes for
I did
sure.
180 for my total.
I went 60 opening and 195 total. So it's definitely it. If you're doing I know they have those box office fantasy leagues where you pick the numbers and stuff who does the best. It's a pretty safe bet. I'd say to be in the top 5 for the summer.
But it's both surprising and it's satisfying that these do well, because once you see one, you're like, these are good.
Yeah, so. there's nothing cheap about these movies.
Yeah.
The characterization's always really good. It's the kind of setting you don't see that much anymore. So
yeah,
I'm
you can tell.
very fond of these.
You can tell that at least with Reeves's work on it, that he has a vision and the vision translates well.
Yeah.
And
well, even Rise, which wasn't Reeves.
Yeah.
Even Rise is very good.
No, it's
with
good.
James
I like
Franco.
that one. Yeah.
It's a totally different movie, which is cool.
Yeah.
But
and
yeah.
This one definitely looks different too, because the sequel was very much about the tension leading up to something.
And now here we
and this is in the middle of something. Yeah. So
no, I'm really excited for those. Another one I'm really excited, possibly the most excited of the summer, is Dunkirk. Christopher Nolan's World War II epic about the evacuation of Dunkirk, Poland, I believe, right? Is that where they were?
No, it's in France.
In France?
Okay. It was a very well-known World War II battle. I think I wrote down the Brits had about 68,000 people killed or captured during the battle, and they ended up evacuating.
Spoilers.
They ended up successfully evacuating. A lot of civilians actually used ferries and stuff like that to help them evacuate.
It's a really cool story.
And so the Brits still kind of talk about the spirit of Dunkirk.
Yeah. And this was before the United States was in the war.
Yeah, about a full year before, a year and a half before Pearl Harbor.
This is my ignorance, but it's almost hard to think about World War II without the U.S. side in it, because we learn about D-Day and everything from the U.S. ends, but there's so much of the war before that.
Do you think that'll hurt this? That it's pre-USA here in the States?
I don't think so, because I think Christopher Nolan has a very powerful name in directing.
War. Yeah.
And it's still World War II. It's still very clearly World War II to me. And it's so sleek that I don't think it's really going to hurt it. It's not like a Saving Private Ryan where it's an inspirational American story. It is a very inspirational story even still, but it's definitely different.
It seems hard to even make a World War II film after Saving Private Ryan.
Yeah.
There's obviously been some, and there's been a lot, but not.
There's been good ones too, but it's
none
all
of them have
by
rose to that occasion, basically. So I wonder if this one will.
Yeah, I think this is the route to go with specific battles.
Yeah.
And you're separating yourself totally from the events of Saving Private Ryan, so it's hard to compare.
Yeah, that's true.
Any World War II movie that starts with D-Day, it's you're not gonna
just don't
compare.
Even.
So it's gonna be really hard to stand out. But that's why I thought Hacksaw Ridge was good. It's the Pacific Theater. It's a totally different side of things, so it keeps itself fresh from Saving Private Ryan. It doesn't save it from comparison, but it at least stands out in a way. And I think this one does too. Honestly, mostly because of the Nolan touch.
Yeah. It'll definitely be different. Yeah. No doubt.
It's got the Hans Zimmer score, which in the trailer is incredible to me.
And I think it being pre-U.S. involvement, I think the average person seeing the trailer isn't gonna know. I didn't know much about the battle before, kind of looking at it here.
Or care.
Yeah,
that's
the average
true.
person's probably just gonna be it's a World War II movie.
No, yeah, I got you.
And then they go and maybe they find out and they get really up in arms.
Yeah,
but I don't actually think anyone will get up in arms.
I think it is. Brits' spirit during World War II is definitely something to.
No, I'm not discounting the event. I'm just saying the average American
The
theater
headlines
goer.
read.
No, I always think that's like a cool
Scott
thing.
Tennant
'Cause
says
we
no
have
one
this,
cares
like,
about England and World
ego.
War II.
We have like a very big ego when it comes to World War II.
Yeah.
It's because we
And then
won
you
it.
see like other countries, like the Brits were like in some serious shit for like years before we got involved.
No,
like
for sure.
the Soviets took
The
Berlin,
Soviets did
like,
a ton of work and were like, gotcha.
Yeah, you're
That's not
welcome.
what I was saying. But I think the other interesting thing about this is it doesn't look like that much of an action film necessarily.
Yeah, it looks more like a dramatic tension kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool. There's apparently there's 3 different kind of plots going on in it. Like the Tom Hardy as a pilot, the Mark Rylance boat evacuation, and then the actual probably in the city or whatever.
Yeah.
One thing I do want to mention, Atonement has a very cool Dunkirk scene. It's like a one shot as before they evacuate. That's really cool. So if you haven't seen it, check it out.
I didn't realize that's what that was.
Yeah.
I loved
same one.
Atonement.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
I've never seen it.
Well, maybe after you watch Dunkirk, you will.
Maybe.
Which
Double feature, really upbeat double
Yeah.
feature.
all right, so tomato meter, I went.
I'll jump in. I went my highest for Dunkirk.
What'd you get? What'd you put?
I went 90%. I think critics are gonna love it. It looks good.
Yeah.
The entire cast was awesome. I called it drama Harry Potter earlier because it was like all the heavy hitters.
It even has Harry Styles, right?
It does.
Yeah. I went 92%.
Ooh.
So one up you there, Kara.
Yeah.
Boom,
That's
two up
definitely
me, actually.
my highest score on here.
I gave it an 87%, which I still think it's going to be great.
87's a good score, man.
It's a solid number. And then at the box office, I said 40 million on the opening and 180 total. I don't think it's going to slaughter the box office or anything. Like even Interstellar, which is probably Christopher Nolan's biggest non-Batman release, it did a little better than that, but it didn't do a lot better. So
I went closer to the Interstellar numbers. I did 60 opening weekend and 200 total.
Yeah.
I went a little bit lower. I'm gonna do 35 opening and 125 total.
Yeah. I think it'll definitely be more of a critical than a blockbuster. Darling.
Yeah.
And it has to compete against Valerian and the City of 1,000 Planets opening alongside it.
It's tough competition.
Sure is. It's from a legendary filmmaker, Luc Besson.
Legendary. He did Lucy. He did
Fifth Element.
Fifth Element. He
He does have good movies. in the
Leon
backlog.
and La Femme Nikita.
Yep.
Then everything else he's done has been garbage. No, I'm just kidding.
He's not kidding.
They they've been really pushing that legendary filmmaker Luc Besson and all the
Yeah.
marketing, which I think is interesting because
Besson.
is that
Besson.
Like you can't like
Sorry.
I can't say, I didn't try to say it because I can't say it without sounding like a tool. Like
Yeah.
Luc Besson.
Luke.
well, it's like
Besson.
whenever
Like
we
it-
try
like trying
and
to say
pronounce Denis Villeneuve's name, we've done it like a billion different
Yeah.
ways. Denis Villanueva.
I think my last version was just okay.
I'm gonna go have a croissant.
Croissant. With Luc Besson.
They've been really pushing that side of him, which I think is for the movie's marketing, which I think is very strange because
Pushing Fifth Element definitely makes sense.
well, you definitely want to evoke images of the
yeah,
Fifth
and
Element,
then I get pushing Lucy because it made a lot of money.
which I still don't get.
But
It looks
calling
so
him like
uninteresting.
legendary director, you could just say from the director of Lucy and Fifth Element.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like
One thing that I thought was interesting, he did an AMA on Reddit like a month ago, and he's super passionate about the source material. He said the graphic novel is like one of his biggest inspirations for all of his work. And I think that's just cool because it means he's probably going to do his best to do justice to it and make a
Hopefully.
really good movie.
I've never read it. So.
I'd never heard of it.
Same.
But I don't think the fact that your main pairing is Dane DeHaan and Cara Delevingne is a good sign.
Yeah.
I don't even dislike them that much. I think I like them more than the average bear, but I don't like them that much still. Like I don't think either of them are lead actor or actress material.
Nah.
Rihanna's in it.
Yeah, I'm excited about Rihanna being in it. She does cool clothes changes, and that's just my jam right there. But
Max's jam is Rihanna changing her clothes.
you could put that on my tombstone. I'm fine with that. But no. Yeah, Dane DeHaan. I mean, I've seen him in very little things, and he always plays a weirdo.
Yeah. I thought he was
And-
really good in Chronicle.
Did he play a weirdo in that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spider-Man 2, Amazing Spider-Man
Yeah.
2.
Oh, yeah.
Weirdo. Yeah, he's just, he's weird. And to see him playing, it's kind of cool that he's playing like a main character in something like this, where it should be somebody like Bruce Willis. Let's be real.
It should be someone like charismatic. And,
yeah. But at the same time, that could be a nail in the coffin for it. For how do you say her name?
Cara Delevingne, I think, but that's probably not right.
I've literally only seen her in Suicide Squad, and she wasn't good in that.
She was hilariously bad, though.
Yeah, she was like
it
wiggling.
got to the funniest. She was like hula hooping at the end. But she does not carry much acting talent, in my opinion, because she was like a model. You know where else we saw her was in Pan. Remember, she was the Mermaids.
Yeah, she was the Mermaids. If this is good, cool.
I think if it's good, it won't be because of Dane DeHaan and Cara Delevingne. It'll be because it's a really interesting world that they build in a nice way, and it's very colorful action.
It looks so much like both Jupiter Ascending and Guardians of the Galaxy that I'm just kind of...
Where's it gonna
I'm just neutral on it.
I liked Jupiter Ascending more than I'm proud to admit, so maybe I'm like the market for this movie.
Well, I just watched Speed Racer, and I love that. So I'm in on some wacky, but I just... Some of the stuff looks crazy wacky in it, and some of the stuff just looks like, okay.
Some of the stuff looks super generic, too.
Yeah.
Like jumping off that one ship into another ship with a beast coming after him.
Yeah.
It's like, that's probably in John Carter a bunch.
I mean...
I haven't seen John Carter.
It looks like John Carter now that you say that. Comparing it to some of his previous work, Fifth Element, a film that I absolutely love. It's ridiculous. It's visual. It's unique. It's a great blend of computer and practical effects, and it's just like solid work. It has a strong cult following to it.
I mean, Fifth Element has like good acting, good character, like characters that you're into.
Yeah.
This trailer is
Game
like
changer.
relies 100% on the effects, and at some point I just turn my brain off and don't care anymore.
I don't know what is his name. Valerian.
His
I
name's
believe
Valerian.
he's
Yeah, because I know
Valerian.
in the poster he has it on his collar, and her
I
name
don't
is on
know
her collar.
what he wants or what he's doing in this movie.
So we watched a trailer right before this, but in the other trailer, they kind of play up a romance between the two of them. But
Are they on
shoots
a
it down.
mission?
I don't know.
Okay, that's my worry with this film. Is just like I don't know what it's actually about.
Yeah, like they should probably say what Valerian is, what the
The
planet
smartest thing
is.
that a film like Guardians of the Galaxy does is they say in the first trailer for the first film, like, I guess we got to save the galaxy.
Yeah.
And then the sequel, it's like, I guess we got to save the galaxy again. Like when you just flat out lay it out there, that makes sense.
Yeah.
For something this wacky, I think you definitely need to do that. With this, it's like, you have a mission, and that's all I remember from it.
Like that was like a little bit of a Morgan Freeman voice.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you guys are pretty pessimistic. Max, what do you think tomato meter?
I went pretty low. I went 37%.
Yeah, I went 39%.
I went 44%. So
You
again,
have a
we're all
lot
on the
of
same
faith.
Yeah. I mean,
level. That is slightly better than Jupiter Ascending. But when
legendary
you have a legendary
director-
director attack.
Sorry, Luke.
Luke, he's
Cressall.
had as many stinkers as he has had gold, so who knows?
Yeah. Box office is another tough one to project, but what do you got, Max,
I went with 30.
on the opening?
Just like it probably people will show up because it's science fiction and
Yeah.
why not? But I don't know if it's gonna like, you're coming after like a Nolan film and
They're coming the same week as a Nolan.
oh
film.
yeah, so
yeah.
actually
Yeah.
I might want to lower mine.
Yeah, I went much lower. Kara, how about you?
I'm going to do 20 million opening, 60 million total.
Which is like flop totals.
Yeah.
I went 15 on the opening and 75 for the total. Who's going to go to the theater and see new releases, Dunkirk, Valerian, and is going to go, let's go see Valerian, honey? There's people out there who are going to, and more power to them, but it's not going to be a
It
lot.
might be more like a second week kind of thing.
Yeah, which
So,
is why the opening is going to be lower. But
yeah.
I mean, you have to explain what the hell Valerian, like, people have trouble ordering. Like, they get to the window and they don't know, like, what
Also,
stuff's called and stuff like that.
What's the
if
full
it's
title
called
again?
Valerian and the City of 1,000 Planets.
Yeah, like, they're not gonna...
You're going to get some really good mispronunciations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to see
they should've called
Viking and
it-
the Cities of Planets.
They should either just called it Valerian or City of 1,000 Planets.
Yeah.
Either or, not
Yeah.
both.
Yeah. But that's
Sorry.
probably the name of the source material.
Sorry, legendary director Luc Besson.
Our next film is Atomic Blonde. Many are codenaming it Chickwick, from the
So sick of
director
hearing
of John Wick. It's the Charlize Theron version.
Mm-hmm.
They should have just called it Chickwick if they're just gonna, like,
If they're
pitch
going
it
to go
as a...
so far
Yeah.
into that. Well, this
Her
one...
name is Justine Chickwick.
Her cat gets killed and so...
I'm glad you made that joke and not us.
I guess this one, I don't know too much about it, to be honest, because John Wick is not the kind of movie I like, so Atomic Blonde, I'm pretty sure won't be the kind of movie I like. Though I did
But
like
John
that
Wick
trailer.
is good. Did you
Yeah,
watch
but
it?
I don't love like balls to the wall action.
Oh.
And that's what John Wick is, and I respect it.
But I
it's just not
hear,
me.
because I haven't seen it yet, I hear it's balls to the wall action with heart. Like there's like a story that drives it.
Nobody
Like
told me
I
there was
love,
heart.
I
Yeah.
love Keanu.
I love Keanu
Anyone
too.
murdering anyone, like everyone over their puppy,
Yeah.
I'm in. I would do it.
Well,
now that you're a pup dad,
yeah,
maybe.
I might have to
I
watch
know.
it.
Watch it.
Charlize Theron is in this in its Cold War, right? Is that
Is
what
it?
it is?
Is
I think
it?
so.
I
thought
had
it
no
was
idea.
present day.
Yeah.
Well, we clearly did our research.
But the trailer doesn't make it clear. I don't
Yeah,
think.
I mean, they're definitely in like Russia or something because James McAvoy was wearing that Russia hat.
Does that make it the Cold War?
That makes it the Cold
Yeah,
War.
no, yeah, you're right.
Boom.
Wow.
How you like that shit?
So
Berlin.
we now
They say
established
that in the trailer. I ignored that.
The
He
Russian-
says, he says "Welcome to Berlin."
the Russian Ushanka hat now represents the Cold War.
It worked this time.
Then the Leonard household.
It's back in the Cold War.
There's good actors and actresses in this. That Sophia Boutella,
McAvoy forever.
Yeah.
James McAvoy, yeah. Who, if anyone hasn't seen Split, it's incredible.
It's on HBO now, right?
I don't think so.
I don't think it is.
I think it's on
It
on
just
demand.
came
and
out
stuff.
On
on
demand,
Blu-ray
that's it,
and
yeah.
on demand and stuff. So, it's incredible, and he is incredible in it. So I'm kind of all in on pretty much everything for the rest of his life.
Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like he's that same role that he was in Salt, which was like the Angelina
was in
Jolie.
Salt?
Yes,
Yeah.
he was like the sidekick.
He was also
dude.
in Wanted, right? Which I get those two
Oh,
confused.
maybe I did the same thing. I did. He
Because
was
it's Angelina
not in
Jolie,
Salt.
like
Yeah.
spy action.
Oh, I'm glad you cleared that up because that would have been really
You'd
embarrassing.
have been really salty.
No, I mean this one honestly does look like the trailer for John Wick to me as someone who doesn't quite care. So I'm not all that in, so I don't have much to say.
Well, I feel like people that want the action are gonna see that trailer.
And be
You
in
know,
on
the
it.
trailer is good music.
Yeah.
Good,
Yeah.
you know, action sequences.
John Wick 2 did really, really good at the box office, so that bodes well
I
after
think-
John Wick was a smaller release.
I think this is almost more comparable to something like Lucy, where you have, like a leading lady doing an action role.
Yeah.
And
That's Lucy from legendary director Luc
from legendary
Besson.
director Luc Besson.
The director of Atomic Blonde here is doing Deadpool 2, though, so there's some faith in him there.
Yeah, he must know his action.
He must. Kara, where does that put your tomato meter on Atomic Blonde?
I went 82%.
Okay, that's pretty optimistic.
Yeah, I think it. I didn't know where to fall in the critics. I think it'll do really well at the box office. I don't know how critics are gonna feel. I don't know how much depth is gonna be in
Yeah.
the storyline. So
I went 60%, kind of for the same reason. Like, critics may latch onto it. They might just be like, this was pretty good. It's worth a
Yeah.
watch.
Yeah, I went 78%, so again, we're all within 15 points there. How about at the box?
At the box.
I went 40 million opening, 130 domestic total. It's rated R. I don't know how big of an opening it's gonna have. It's like a new
Yeah.
thing.
I went a lot lower. I went 25 mil in the opening, and then I only went 80 on the full run, which now I'm thinking about it, I mean, that's a really low total run.
I'm in between y'all. I went 32 opening with 95 run.
Yeah.
Universal is pushing it a lot. It's been like the attached trailer on a lot of.
I've
big
seen
movies.
more
Really?
ads for this on like YouTube and on TV than I have for Wonder Woman,
Yeah.
Wow.
and that's months out. So
That's pretty telling, too. I mean, that is a lot of
Universal does handle their stuff pretty well. They
Yeah.
promote really well. They did the Fast and Furious. and all
that's
that,
true.
so.
Yeah.
And she is coming off an appearance in a Fast and Furious movie.
Oh,
so
yeah.
she will have some audience
I
flow
have,
from that.
I have no interest in the Fast and Furious series, but I loved the Fate of Furious trailer, and I still want to know what happened that she, like, brainwashed Vin Diesel.
There's like there's like a baby involved, and like the baby's mom, like it's Dom's baby.
Dom's baby.
Dom's baby.
Does Hobbs have the baby?
Who is Vin Diesel?
Yeah.
Listen, I've seen like 5-minute segments of this movie.
Of
so
like
I'm
every movie
so
that
I'm
they've ever made.
piecing this together. It might not be accurate. So it's Dom's baby, I think. And she has killed the mother, who was like a one night or like a short relationship or something. Elsa.
So
What's
Pataki?
yeah, what's his name's wife?
In the movie or
Thor's
in
wife in real life.
whose wife?
Thor, the guy who plays Thor.
Chris Hemsworth's wife?
Chris Hemsworth's wife in real life gets murdered in Fate of the Furious, and there's a baby that has to be protected, and that is what happens.
This is the best description of the Fate of the Furious.
Yeah.
That's it.
But then I heard
It's all about a baby.
they bring in Statham's character, who's always been a villain, who's literally killed one of their best friends before.
And now they love him. He
Yeah.
comes to a barbecue with them at the end.
Yeah.
And they love him.
Is there a barbecue in every movie?
I think they all end with barbecues.
Which is great.
That's awesome. This one's on a rooftop, though. It looks like a really nice barbecue.
It's like Gone in 60 Seconds.
But yeah, and Helen Mirren's in it as
What?
Statham's mom, who like reprimands him. This is another 5-minute segment that I've seen where Helen Mirren's
Dame
like,
Helen Mirren.
yeah, and Statham saves the baby from like a crashing airplane at some point.
God damn.
What a movie.
And
I'm
I thought when
interested
I
again.
first saw the baby, I thought that it was like Paul Walker's baby, and that's what they were like. They were
That would make
keeping.
sense.
But I think that it's. I
Here's-
think it's Dom's baby.
Here's my thoughts for the next movie.
Okay.
DeLorean, time traveling. Visit every single movie.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Why not? This one they like jumped a submarine.
Yeah, they did.
And, like,
they
a
always
mo-
raise the stakes.
Yeah,
What are they gonna
they've
call
gone
it?
from like street races that are like dangerous to let's use guns to bring down airplanes and then drive like Lambos through them. It just is
I
crazy.
remember thinking it was ridiculous when they drove their cars off a cliff and jumped out into the water, and now they're like jumping over submarines.
Now they're driving
So-
like cliffs off of water.
Yeah.
So.
We're beating around the bush when really we have our most exciting movie and our final movie on the list, the Emoji Movie, a total enigma.
I still just don't really believe this is real.
There is a trailer out, and the trailer has the aspect ratio of someone filming a vertical film on their iPhone, which I hope the whole movie has that. It's a really artistic choice to eliminate 70% of the screen.
The next step, you'll just come into the theater. The movie will be on your phone.
Yeah, you
You'll
just
just sit in the
download
seat.
it.
Yeah.
There's literally no plot details. I can't even imagine where the plot's going to go for the Emoji Movie. But there's a talented voice cast behind it.
It
T.J.
just-
Miller, Patrick Stewart.
Just looks like a soulless Inside Out.
Yeah, that actually is exactly what it looks like.
It's like on point right
Yeah.
there.
I didn't even think about the Inside Out comparison, but that's what it looks like exactly.
Yeah.
There's only so much humor that I think you can milk out of emojis, and it's a very small amount. So
I mean, even that teaser, they didn't really like make any joke. Like they made the poop emoji joke.
but even that wasn't funny.
mean,
The joke
we knew
itself
they were
was
gonna
that
do
the
that.
poop emoji
Can hear you talking
can
about
hear you,
shit.
and he's very classy because it's
Patrick Stewart.
Patrick Stewart.
I don't know. I mean, I not only do I have no hope for this movie being any good, but it makes me question the industry that it's been made. It is being made by Sony, who has kind of been in like a free fall. Sony Pictures has been doing very terribly, but apparently
Their email leak. So
It's their email leak.
if technology is their issue, maybe emojis isn't the
Yeah.
best thing to take on.
Apparently they're putting a lot of faith in this one. Kids love emojis. Whenever you go to like the mall, Spencer's Gifts is like full of emoji shit. I don't know, man. It's a weird world we live in where this is a discussion.
Do we even want to like rate this one?
I have a prediction. I put it down for a 12%.
Yeah, I went 17%.
I'll go 14%. I just made that up on the fly.
Yeah, I didn't come up with grosses because it's hard to tell because even the shittiest kids movies
Yeah.
sometimes do really well.
I went 245 million opening and a 550 domestic. release. Nah, I mean, emoji, it's impossible to predict. I already like can't relate to children and their tastes, and now trying to predict something that's so totally geared towards them. Like, it's one thing to predict a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. It's another thing for something like this.
The next headline: Scott Tennant, unrelatable to kids.
Scott Tennant hates kids and Britain.
Yeah. And turtles.
That's our
And
summary preview.
apes too.
And Apes, yeah. Which movie are you guys most excited about? Not just from like score, like just personally.
Probably Baby Driver from the list
Yeah.
and Alien Covenant.
Yeah.
Yeah, Baby Driver, Alien Covenant, and King Arthur. I'm pretty stoked
Yeah.
about King Arthur.
Yeah, Baby Driver is definitely my number one, but
And you go ahead. You go
but
ahead.
I'm in
Cut
on
it off.
King Arthur too,
Yeah.
and Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, it comes at night too. That
Oh
one.
yeah. Some of the
Yeah,
ones we didn't
that's
talk about.
really
It comes at night, looks awesome.
Even though we
Ghost
discussed our
Story.
worries with Wonder Woman, I am excited to see Wonder Woman on the big screen.
I'm excited about Wonder Woman too, but I'm also like really nervous
Oh,
about it.
I've tempered my
Yeah.
excitement for DC
Yeah.
across the board. So
It should be interesting, though. I think it's a good summer lineup.
Yeah.
I think there was some fatigue last year in the summer when it was like week after week, it felt like a bomb was dropping. Like Independence Day Resurgence would be followed by Ben-Hur or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think this summer has many bad movies, but there's probably some that'll sneak up on us.
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm more positive going into the summer than I was last summer.
Yeah, I am too. There's some good original movies out there. So
Yeah.
Like the Emoji Movie. Max, where can the good people find us?
Well, you can find us. You can find us watching summer movies or at thecriticalbreakdown.com.
Where will we be watching summer movies, Kara?
You can watch them here in Charlotte at the Airsley Grand Cinema.
Yeah. That's a plug.
The plug. You can find my thoughts on all these summer movies on Twitter at Max Rivera Film.
You can find me on Twitter, probably not tweeting, at breakdown_Scott. I think my last tweet was 8 to 10 months ago.
I've gotten more active on Twitter.
Hey.
A tweet.
Something to watch out for. I think Max already said it, but I already forgot. So we post reviews, blog posts at thecriticalbreakdown.com. Send us an email at thecriticalbreakdownpodcast@gmail.com. What's the summer movie you're most excited about? Last year, we didn't talk about Ratchet and Clank, and we got viewer mail about that.
Yeah.
That movie was a big clank. That doesn't make sense, but it sucked. We are on iTunes. Leave us a rating and a review. That really helps us out. We're on Google Play. We're on all the podcatchers. So check us out wherever you can. Share it with your friends. And enjoy a summer of movies.
Next week on the Critical Breakdown,
We're watching Tomorrowland.
Rated 50% on Rotten Tomatoes. Right in the middle.
Neither here nor there.